so much for joining us for this experiment. Okay, Hermione, thank you for joining me in my Waymo today.
Thank you, Alice, for welcoming me. This is a great setup.
Tell me about ClarityCare. What does it do?
So at ClarityCare AI, we deploy AI agents in healthcare operations for administering benefits. And specifically, we process determination of coverage of care. So prior authorizations, if you're familiar with that. And we do this almost in real time today. The goal is that patients don't have to wait 3 weeks to wait for their chemo drugs.
Tell me a little bit about your story. So where are you originally from?
So I'm originally from France, from Paris. And I moved to the US about 4 years ago now. I was doing some research in healthcare, and in my head, I had to move to the US because the capital of healthcare in the world at the time in my head was Boston. So I needed to go and discover what Boston was all about.
So you came out here, you studied at MIT. Then what happened?
So I studied at MIT, and then I did lots of research around the Boston area and healthcare. And what happened is I bumped into Matt at a coffee shop in...
This is my co-founder.
in Kendall Square. Matt Clifford, Alice's co-founder of Entrepreneur First. And I hesitated a long time between continuing into a PhD and continuing my research or starting a company. And it really did take me some time. I figured I wanted to have impact today on patients. And Entrepreneur First enabled me to do that. So that's why I joined the first cohort in the US. And now we're here, I guess, 2 years later.
Indeed. And you met. So part of what we do at EF is we help people find their co-founders. Tell us about the story of meeting Alex. How did you know Alex was going to be the right co-founder for you?
I did not. So the first part of EF is this form phase where the value prop and how I actually explain it to people who ask me what Entrepreneur First is about. How I explain it, and then please tell me if that's wrong and I should pitch it differently. But basically what I say, the value prop, is that you spend and invest your time with 20 other people in the same room for 3 months that also are super ambitious and want to start a company, mostly technical people, and then you iterate on that. It's kind of an investment for yourself. It may not be a company at the end of the day, but I don't think that's what people who participate should be optimizing for. They should be optimizing for finding someone they want to work with for the next 20 years of their life. It so happens that it works out more often than not, apparently. So I guess it is a good deal. And then I guess the process is made so that the team members of EF actually help you figure out pretty quickly if you want to work with that person or not, and if they're the right fit. I actually went through 4 co-founder relationships before working with Alex, and Alex was really my friend in the cohort. And I didn't even consider, I think I should start a company with him. It's more like towards the end where we're like, okay, I guess like it's either that or I go back to finding a job. So let's try to explore working together. And it actually ended up kind of working super well, and it is still working super well. Like the reason why I keep building ClarityCare AI is I get to work with Alex every day, and it's like the greatest gift I have. So sometimes it's kind of like serendipity and not putting so much pressure on the co-founder relationship and just kind of building together as humans. And then that's what made us close and what made us kind of in alignment to build together.
Amazing. I love that. So let's talk a little bit about fundraising in the US. So one of the big things that we're pushing at the moment is how can we help Europeans to really nail the fundraising process in the US? Now, you were part of our first demo day in San Francisco. We kicked off with Reid Hoffman, opening demo day. He's one of our big investors. What surprised you about the experience of fundraising in the US?
To be totally frank and honest, I did not have any kind of prior knowledge of the VC world before. I was a researcher in machine learning, very like into transformers and kind of academia and papers. So like VC to me was Andreessen. That's all I knew about. And actually, like the only newsletter I was probably like subscribed to from any VC was Andreessen's healthcare newsletter. So that's all I knew about it. When we did the launch phase at EF, I started learning a little bit more about what VC was and like what it meant to actually try and go fundraise. So I guess, I don't know if I had ginormous expectations. What I learned is that there are rules and that you play by the rules. And if you play by the rules and you understand them, you can kind of own the process and get what you want at the end of the day, which are great partners to build a company for a long time, which are what investors are, and capital to help fuel that progress and that process.
What you say the rules? What were the rules that surprised you, or what do you think the rules are? Be interested if my list compares with your list.
So you'll be surprised. The most common thing I get asked about in cold LinkedIn DMs is, "Can you help me figure out how to fundraise?"
Oh, really?
Yeah, I do. So I've been. I don't know. Like I don't know any better. I can share my experience. And so, what are the rules that, in my mental model, I've kind of put together? I think the rules that I have in my mental model are heavily kind of inspired from the rules that EF has helped us understand. And what that includes is being able to like run a tight process in which you kind of artificially build fear of missing out. You don't just do one meeting here and there. You actually concentrate meetings. Not only it's to build FOMO, but it's also so that you just focus on fundraising for a short period of time, so the rest you can actually go back to building your great company.
When it's hard as CEO when you've got to switch between like the chaos of day to day where a bunch of stuff is broken, right? And then you've got to suddenly switch into incredible salesperson, who believes their company is going to take over the world. That switch is pretty hard, and that's one of the benefits again of like running this really tight, short process.
No, for sure. I would say one of the learnings like a year and a half in is that first persona you had described of like you have to be salesy and like sell your company well. I feel like that's the life of a CEO 100% of the time. Like I don't think there's any other option to be any different. It is different to run a fundraising process than to actually like implement customers, build relationship. But at the end of the day, it's still partners that you want to work with, and so I kind of would treat it similarly, I would say. What I would also say as to what's different, and you taught me that very well, is to actually put yourself out there and not undersell yourself. It's a common trait in European culture, in the British, the French culture, to kind of not really say your achievements, not really say who you are, because culturally you kind of, I don't know, like hint it at people, or people should know. Here you have to put yourself out there. If you don't like stand up for yourself, no one is going to do that. That's part of the reason why I'm still here. It's kind of a place where in the world where I feel like I can do anything because I can stand up for myself, and people are gonna either like it or not, but I can still kind of, I'm not gonna have any regrets for not having done that. And I remember some of the training sessions I had with you when you were like making me practice.
I remember too.
And like I remember to this day, and I'm very thankful for that, because like you pushed me out of my comfort zone to do that, and I do it more. I still have that fiber of like being transparent, but you can be transparent on what you're doing while kind of framing a positive perspective.
Yeah. I think, ultimately the culture in the US is the business culture, particularly in San Francisco, is very different to how Europeans typically behave and the social norms. And I think your positioning of, you have to tell people things. Like if you want somebody to know something, they're not going to infer it. You have to tell them, and you can tell them the very best version of what you've achieved, what you've done in life. And you are so unbelievably impressive, and you need to unleash that on the world.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think by having been in San Francisco for a full year now, I'm definitely kind of more embraced that perspective.
Amazing. You have some incredible angels in your seed round. Tell me about the process of getting angels. And you got some incredible French angels in your round as well.
Yeah. It's funny you asked me about angels, because I had a discussion recently with another founder who told me they wanted to have an angel round. And they asked me about like, okay, do they need to be super specific to what I do? I suppose I'm in B2C consumer. They need to be B2C consumer angels. I think, at least for us, what happened is, well, we leaned into who we were, and at the time I was a French CEO, so like their healthcare, obviously AI, but I think for us specifically, serendipity happened by being in San Francisco, which is when I moved, I kind of tapped into my French network. Guys, I'm moving to San Francisco. It's 12 hours away from home. Like, you need to help me out. And so I got put in touch to people. One of our first checks is an introduction and another introduction from a couple of months before. That led to a bunch of email and a few calls. And then when I was raising, I was just in touch with that person. And then they said, oh, actually, can I be part of that round? Another one of those where it was a dinner in San Francisco, and I talked about building this company, and my friend told me, oh, actually, like, I'm sure my boss would love to meet you. Like, you should definitely talk. And it so happened that when that happened, that dinner happened, and then the email exchange with that person's boss that happened, she was going on a leave for 6 weeks, and it just timed perfectly at the end of that 6 weeks when we had the calls. Actually, was the week of demo day. So it was a lot of serendipity, I must say. So I don't know how to reproduce this.
How much money do you think you raised through serendipity?
I don't know. That's a good question. So, like, outside of like traditional
VC, yeah.
I think $400,000.
I mean, this is the amazing thing about San Francisco, that you can raise almost $500,000 through serendipity, just meeting the right people at the right time who are interested in what you're doing.
Yeah.
That's kind of insane.
It is, and double clicking on San Francisco, it is because it's San Francisco. I don't believe that happens anywhere else in the world.
I think you're right. Let's talk about the VC process.
Yeah.
So you've raised from one of the world's very best healthcare VCs. What was the process like of fundraising from a Bay Area VC? I did 86 meetings the first week of fundraising. So to give you a timeline, demo day was on a Thursday. And then I had my calendar and my Calendly open for the week after. And from that Monday to that Friday right after, I did 86 meetings. What that meant was Alex, my co-founder, would like bring me lunches via the like phone booth, and I would like eat in between like 2 minutes between meetings. Probably to this date, one of the most intense weeks I've had in my life. But how did we actually schedule those 86 meetings is probably another question. When you put yourself on Stealth and LinkedIn, a lot of investors actually outreach to you. EF, rightly so, told us, do not take any of those meetings. Keep them warm for the moment you actually want to go out and fundraise. And so that's what we did. And we kind of started this spreadsheet, and we tracked all these contact points. And then we mentioned, okay, the week of demo day, hey guys, now we're actually fundraising. So that kind of naturally kind of fed a little bit of those meetings. And one thing I've noticed, and this is just from experience, I would love to hear what other people have experienced, is when I talk to someone from a specific location, usually the next morning I would get like 5 or 6 emails from other firms in that geographic location. Oh, wow. That's so interesting.
So like the first time I talked to a New York VC, like the next day, so it was probably like the Wednesday, the next day I get like 6 emails from other early stage New York VCs. Similar things happened to London.
This is what first-time founders forget when they're fundraising, is that all the VCs know each other.
Yeah.
They're all on the same WhatsApp groups. They're all sending each other the same deals. And so you're not just trying to impress the VCs you want. You actually do need to impress everyone that you meet, because they're all going to be talking about you.
Oh, absolutely. Like literally everyone that you meet. I went to an event this weekend, more friendly kind of networking, and then we kind of all introduce ourselves, and then I talk about ClarityCare AI for like 10 seconds, really short, and someone comes up to me and I'm like, I think you pitched me like 6 months, a year ago. I think I was on the other end of the phone. I was like, oh, you do remember.
Yeah, nice.
People always remember. And you do remember at the end of the day, because you have your own notes. So it's important to be on top of your game every single time.
Yeah. One of the big themes that we're noticing is that VCs like to ask a lot of personal questions, particularly about where you're from and your childhood. What kind of questions did they ask you?
I mentioned the first week we did 86 meetings. I think total we did maybe 120 first meetings. Out of those, and I remember distinctly which ones they were, those personal questions that you mentioned, I think there were 3 different ones where they were like super personal questions. First time I meet the person. So like, what is your deepest childhood trauma? Do you have a good relationship with your dad? Or like things like that.
This is in the first meeting?
First meeting. My co-founder is contrarian, and I like to be challenged in general. So like I will just answer questions. Let's just say it's not how I envision a relationship with someone. Although I've read multiple articles that do say that apparently people who are successful have had like horrible childhood. Probably you have grit for success. I kind of tend to discard kind of those questions and the fact that I was being asked those questions. But in general, that was just like a kind of an edge case. In general, what people ask, more like the team, obviously, how do you meet your co-founder? And then I kind of like, you have to explain a little bit about EF if they don't know. Now everyone knows about it now. Then SF.
Just on the team bit, thinking about, getting used to really selling yourself.
Yeah.
How did you, so you did 106 first meetings. How did you shift on how you sold yourself in that first meeting to like, what was really landing? By the time you did that like 100th meeting, how were you selling the team?
Well, obviously the first few ones were not great, right? And you take notes about like what lands, what doesn't land. How the difference in how we sold ourselves was a very interesting exercise. At the time, we were living with like 5 other founders in that house. And at night, we would all be like, oh my God, fundraising is like killing us. And we would kind of pitch each other. And then the exercise was that everyone but you has to pitch your own company. And so when that happens, actually, it can be that someone's actually better than yourself at selling yourself because they don't have kind of like the specific kind of like emotional attachment that you would have to how you sell yourself. And so I remember distinctively one of my friend kind of like started pitching ClarityCare and started pitching us as a team. And I was like, wait, pause. Johnny, like I need to record this. And I did. And then that's how we sold ourselves ever since after that. Obviously the bottom line is the speech definitely evolves. Very helpful to have someone else pitch yourself. And the first thing he did was like, hi, I'm Hermione. I'm an MIT researcher. And I never, ever started any call like this.
Why not? Why wasn't that the first thing on your lips?
I guess what you mentioned about the European kind of perspective. And then when Johnny like pitched, I was like, sounds kind of nice, actually. Let's do it.
Sounds good, right?
And then literally, so that was like 11 p.m. that night. Next morning was starting at 6 to 6 a.m. I just started it and I started seeing those faces nodding. I was like, okay, I'm just going to keep doing it,
Yeah.
Why not? And it wasn't just team, like it was everything. Just the perspective of, I guess it's kind of like first principles thinking. When you're not on something, you may have like a better 360 perspective on how to actually sell it versus if you're like neck deep into like building something every day, it's kind of sometimes it's harder.
Yeah, 100%. If you had to give a European founder that is fundraising in the Bay Area one piece of advice, one thing that you wish you'd known, what would you share?
Probably the one where like actually do not talk to a VC when you're not ready.
Why?
So like I guess what I've learned is that it's all about data points. Like 1 data point can be an outlier, 2 data points is a trend. So if you give this initial data point that it's not what you want it to look like, and then you have a second one, you don't control the trend anymore. You don't control the narrative. Information is power. And in the VC game, that definitely is the truth. And so you want to show your best self at all times with the good data points.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of the number one, I would say.
The problem is if you ask a VC, they will always advise, have the coffee. VCs are paid to meet people and have that incredible network. So it can be hard to push back. Like you talked a little bit that you pushed back some VC meetings that were trying to meet you. How did you, how can you say no to a VC?
Like very relevant because I used to receive those messages. I'm like, oh my God, I need to answer very quickly. The truth is I did take some of these meetings initially. And then I realized how bad and like how unhelpful they were. And then EF kept telling us not to take those meetings. So I was like, I probably should listen. So I took, I think 2. And I remember again, exactly who they were. How can you push back? Okay. Very easy. Hi, thank you so much for your interest in ClarityCare AI. I'm not currently fundraising, but you'll be the first one to know when I am. That's it. Plain and simple. Still do that today.
And that message is like catnip to VCs as well, because it shows that as a founder, you're in control of your process, you're on top of fundraising, and you're giving them FOMO.
Yeah. I think on being in control, I think it's a very important one. Even how you run the calls, showing you're in control. What I would always do when I kind of run the call, I would always kind of start the conversation first, and I'd be like, okay, tell me about the firm. I want to know, do you actually, can you lead? I want to know why you're interested in what I'm building. What is your current thesis on that? And that would kind of give me all the data points that I want about them and show them that I know what I'm doing as well.
Nice. Right, I think we are coming towards your house. Is this where you live?
Yeah.
Where are we in San Francisco right now?
We are between Design District and Potrero Hill.
Nice.
At the bottom of the hill.
Well, thank you for letting me join your commute. This has been so informative, and I'm very excited about the future of ClarityCare.
Thank you, Alice. Thank you.